Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tech Brief for the last week of the month of July, beginning of August. We're going to be going over vulnerabilities and news that happened during this week. So let's start first with the vulnerabilities. Microsoft put out a blog post about an ESXi vulnerability that is being exploited right now by ransomware groups. This vulnerability has a CVE of 2024-37085, and it affects specifically ESXi 8.0 and 7.0 has a CVSS score of 6.8. There's proof of concept for this, and it's actually being exploited, as I mentioned, in the wild. In the blog post, Microsoft says, Microsoft security researchers identify a new post-compromise technique utilized by ransomware operators like Storm 0506, Storm 1175, Octo Tempest, and Monte's Tempest in numerous attacks. In several cases, the use of the techniques have been led to Akira and Black Basta ransomware deployments. This vulnerability, the way that it works is that ESXi servers, as soon as they are added into a domain join mode, they're joined into Active Directory, they're going to search for a specific group called ESXi admins. All members inside of those groups, in that group, are going to be added as local admins to the ESXi server. If that group does not exist and it is created, ESXi is going to see the creation of that group, and then it's going to replicate all of those users into the ESXi server itself. Now, Broadcom does have mitigations that can be used to disable this behavior, and we are actually recommending customers to implement this to prevent this from being abused in their environment, and to also monitor for the creation of groups. And now I know that a lot of people out there are going to go like, hey, but you need to be domain admin. Now, one of the things that happens is that we also have backup admins, we have account admins, we have help desk people that have control over our use, and the groups inside of there that are able to kind of like create groups and add people into groups. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the actor needs to be a domain administrator to be able to abuse this vulnerability. So do keep that in mind and monitor for modifications to the ESXi admin group itself or creation of this group in your environment. The next vulnerability that we're going to be talking about is an authentication bypass for Veeam backup and replication. This has a CVE ID of CVE-2024-29849. It affects Veeam Backup and Replicator from versions 5.0 all the way until 12.1. It has a CVSS score of 9.8. Proof of concept code actually exists for this vulnerability, and it is actually being exploited in the wild. Now, on May 21st, Veeam published an advisory stating that Veeam Backup Enterprise Manager is affected by authentication bypass, allowing unauthenticated attackers to be able to log in into the Veeam Backup Enterprise Manager web interface as any user in that environment. We're seeing ransomware crews actually abuse this, and given that this is a backup server, means that it's a right target for them because they're going to focus on disabling and destroying the systems for them to then launch the ransomware attack. ServiceNow has a vulnerability that is also being exploited in the wild, and this one is CVE 2024-4879, and affects ServiceNow, and it has a CVSS score of 9.3. There's proof of concept code for it, and it's being exploited. Now, ServiceNow release patches for each one of the different bugs that are related to the CVE. That is for CVE 2024-4879, for CVE 2024-5178, and for CVE 2024-5217 in May and June. But almost immediately after they made this information public, in July 11, a proof of concept code, even with video, was actually published into GitHub and is being used by multiple actors. And somebody already got access to quite a bit of data out there and is making all of that data available in the data breach forums for this vulnerability. In the news, I want to start first with Google releasing Chrome 127. One of the things that I like about this version of Chrome, and I highly recommend that if you're able to upgrade to it, upgrade as quickly as possible in your environment is that there are new protections for Windows, specifically around improving the way that DPAPI is providing application-bound app encryption primitives to the way that it protects cookies in specifically for the browser. They're actually planning after version 127 to move this protection over to other secrets that are managed by Chrome, including password, payment information, and other token type of data. Now, the way that this works is that Chrome will have a process running as system where all of these primitives are going to be stored in, and is going to check that only the application is able to actually decrypt this data. And this is awesome. These are protections that have been to certain degrees available to us in Linux and Mac OS, but now we have them in Windows in the case of DPAPI. Google also added Event ID 257, where the source is going to be Chrome, that is going to show whenever any other application has tried to gain access to the protected cookies. And in the future, this will be the same for passwords. And this is going to be awesome when we're doing threat hunting exercises to detect malicious applications trying to extract passwords from there. It's going to show when an attacker is living in one process or another and is trying to gain access to those credentials to abuse them. So I highly, highly recommend that if you're able in your environment to upgrade to Chrome 127, to do upgrade. We are also seeing, following the trend of supply chain type of attacks, is that Pypi packages have become very popular. We're seeing right now that attackers are targeting via Stack Exchange, via malicious Pypi packages that they're recommending. They're targeting Solana project and other cryptocurrency projects out there by just providing examples that have the users just download this malicious Pypi package to then steal information, acting as an info stealer. This is one of the reasons that I highly, highly recommend that when it comes to development systems, there should be a higher degree of monitoring on this system. And I know that developers are going to hate me for this. They have to be isolated in the network. To developers that many times have very high privileges in their boxes. So we need to be aware of these types of attacks, and we also need to act with more care around those systems where people are allowed to download Pypi packages. We're working with multiple applications in our own environment and doing deployment. We should have checks and balances. This is one of the areas where we have been helping through our application services, many of our customers, to ensure that they have the processes in place to prevent this type of attack. CISA has been warning customers that they're going to revoke certificates that were issued with a flaw when it comes to the subdomains that are included inside of there. And CISA has put out a warning telling people like, hey, once all of the certificates get revoked, there's going to be problems in terms of communication and encryption that is going to affect multiple applications in addition to websites and services out there. I'm happy that DigiCert found the flaw and is addressing this flaw, but at the same time, do be aware, do go through your due diligence process if you use DigiCert to check if you have been contacted by them to see if you're affected by this specific flaw, and reissue your certificates and update your certificates across all of your applications and services to prevent downtime and impact to your infrastructure. So these are the top vulnerabilities and the top news for the last week of July, beginning of August. And I hope that everybody enjoyed this tech brief, and I'll see you on the next one.